Good day, everyone. Now let us continue discussing the technical terms used in research. We are done discussing on how to choose a topic, title in the chapter 1 of a research. Now let's proceed on the technical terms we have to know in the chapter 2 of a research. Let's get started. First, we have the review of the related literature. So, it is a process and documentation of the current relevant research literature regarding a topic or subject of interest. It is a systematic identification and location of documents concerning information related to the research problem. As what I have discussed last time, it is important that we have related studies to support our research. And here is the part where you put those related studies in the review of related literature. It is composed of discussions of facts and principles to which the present study is related. It presents the readings related to the study. They may obtain from the books, journals, magazines, internet, and etc. And take note that you have to get information from credible sources for your RRL. So, tips for writing an effective RRL. First, use reliable sources. Gather information from books, peer reviewed journals, academic websites, and credible articles. Second, synthesize information. Do not just summarize. Analyze how past research connects to your study. Do not just copy what you have read. Like what we always did, you just copy the abstract of the research and then copy it for your RL. You have to synthesize it to connect the information to your study. Third is use proper citation. Usually we follow the APA format and to avoid plagiarism. Fourth, organize by theme. Structure your review based on themes, trends, or gaps in research. Your RRL must be based on your statement of the problem. So you have three questions in the statement of the problem. So you for your RRL, you can also have three subheadings. So first is the first subheading of your RRL should are the related studies that can answer your first statement of the problem. Because in the results and discussion, when you answer your statement of the problem based on the data you have collected and based on the analyzed data, the RRL will support those results. So it's important that your RRL can are related or can answer your statement of the problem. And thus, last one is identify research gaps. Highlight areas where further research is needed. For example, there are lacking related studies, so you highlight those research gaps. Here is an example of an RL. So you have here citations. This is just the first paragraph of an RL. So you just put related studies that are connected to your study. That's an RL. And take note of how you synthesize the information. And in your RL, you must cite um, resources using the APA format or the American Psychological Association. It is the style of documentation of sources used by the APA. This form of writing research papers is used mainly in the social science like psychology, anthropology, as well as education and other fields. And here, in our case, when we um, write research, we use APA citation format. Here are the examples of APA. So in text, this is how you write it in parenthetical and in narrative. And for the reference list, you write it like this. And use hanging indents in the reference list. So there is an option where you can do hanging indents. The first line is aligned left and the following lines are indented. That's how you put your reference, and you should alphabetize your references. So that's for APA format. Now let's proceed to the second part of your chapter 2. After you put all the related studies, we have to also include the theoretical framework or lens. It is the structure that can hold or support a theory of a research study. It introduces and describes the concept that explains why the research problem under study exists. It refers to the theories or studies of varied authors as proven and tested. And usually, the maximum theory that you can input for your research is three and at least one. And then, or it's preferable if it's two or three, one main theory and then two supporting theory. So, tips for creating a strong theoretical framework. First is choose relevant theories. Select theories related to your research problem. So, it's not just related to your study, it's more focusing on your in the research problem too. So, explain the theory clearly. Describe how the theory applies to your study. So, in the theoretical framework, it does not have to be so long. It must be direct to the point. You describe what theory you use and then you explain why is that theory applicable to your study. Use multiple theories if needed. Some studies benefit from combining theories. So that's what I told earlier. You can use two to three theories. And cite theories and researchers, of course, acknowledge the original source of the theories to avoid plagiarism. Here is an example. So this study is anchored on Vygotsky's 1978 sociocultural theory. So which states, so you describe the theory, so it supports the idea that interactive reading strategies can enhance. So here you explain why is it applicable to your study. And I'd also like to remind you that for the related studies, it should be 10 years ago. But for theory, since it is an established theory, the years does not matter. Next is we have the conceptual framework. So it refers to visual templates, illustrations, and examples to determine theories and methodologies for the research. It is a visual plan on how to conduct the research. So it's like the process of how you will conduct the study, where is it going. So it is the structure or chart that shows the dependent and the independent variables. So for the quantitative research, it uses the independent and dependent variables. But for the qualitative, some just uses the IPO model, the input, process, and the output. You just put the diagram there on how you will process your study. Example, in your input, you have the data about the reading comprehension skills. And then for the process, you have the thematic analysis, and then for the output you explore what how to develop or how to improve reading comprehension skills. So that's for the qualitative that uses IPO model for the conceptual framework. But for the quantitative, you can simply just put what are the variables. Here are the tips for developing a conceptual framework. First, identify key variables. Define your independent and dependent variables. Two, show relationships between those variables. So you can use diagrams, flowcharts, or models. And explain how the study will be conducted. Describe the research process. And last, use simple and clear labels. Ensure clarity in presenting concepts. This must be brief and clear. Here is an example. So here are the information. So your topic is about the effect of social media usage on academic performance. So this is a quantitative research. And you have two variables, the independent, so here the social media usage, and then the academic performance. The arrow um, symbolizes the relationship between the two. So that's how you make your conceptual framework. And here is something you have to be reminded. So theoretical framework versus conceptual framework. Theoretical framework dwells on time-tested theory that embody the findings of numerous investigations on how phenomena occur, while a conceptual framework or the research paradigm, on the other hand, embodies the specific direction by which the research will have to be undertaken. So, statistically speaking, the conceptual framework describes the relationship between specific variables identified in the study. It also outlines the input, process, and output of the whole investigation. Both are frameworks, but they have different purpose. But take note of that. Those are the parts of your chapter 2 of the research. You have the RRL, the theoretical framework, and the conceptual framework. So that's it for today, and see you in our next class where we will discuss about the methodology.